Welcome to Meet the Candidate with your host, Sue Lonnie Madsen. Meet the Candidate is your opportunity to see local candidates and hear about the experiences that have shaped their lives. Meet the Candidate is a nonpartisan community project brought to you by our friends at Greater Spokane Incorporated, Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, We Believe, We Vote, and Better Spokane. Now, here's Sue Lonnie.
So welcome to Meet the Candidate, and we have as our guest for this session, Michael Kirk, who is running for Spokane County Clerk. Welcome, Michael.
Pleasure to be here, Sue Lonnie.
And if you hear another voice in the background, that would be Thea Kirk, because she has come along with Daddy, and she is exploring the studio. And I think Jimmy's going to visit with Thea right now, so that she doesn't turn the camera off. So we're good. And getting acquainted. This is all about getting acquainted. And
you really don't know me if you don't know Thea. She is 2 years, 4 months, and a huge part of my life, especially as a stay-at-home dad, taking care of her most of the time.
Okay. Well, that tells us what you're up to right now, but where did you grow up?
I grew up in Greenville, South Carolina, the upstate, mid-sized city, about half the size of Spokane, and happy family, more or less, mother, father, sister, and great climate, kind of like we have here. Warm summers, although a lot more rain and humidity during the summers than we get around here. Down? But we just got here.
That's okay. We're fine. He is a delightful child to have in the studio. Indeed. So when you were a kid, what was your favorite activities in school?
Well, in school, I got into a few different things. Was really active in the high school ROTC. I also played a few musical instruments and got really involved in theater, which I wound up carrying that on through my college years and so on. Loved being on the stage, the shows, and even the behind the scenes work, designing and building sets and so on. There's a lot to it, and it was really engaging, and great people I met there as well.
That's fun to be really involved in something. I think it's important for every kid.
Surely. Yeah. I try to keep an active volunteer life everywhere I go.
Okay. So after high school, did you do some other postgraduate or post-high school training or college or anything?
Yeah, well, actually at 17, after I finished high school, I went off to the seminary. I had a very strong feeling towards the end of my high school years that I was meant for service in one way or another. And while the military recruiters were calling, looking at my ASVAB score and so on.
Well, and then you did the ROTC.
I did. It still felt like there was another way, a more personal way that I was meant to serve. So I went off and I was in the seminary for about 7 years before realizing that I was meant to do something a little different. And after that, I was in lay ministry for several years before our family moved out this way.
Okay. What was maybe the first job that you had where you connected pay and work?
Well, right out of high school, I got a job down in Charleston, South Carolina, doing youth and young adult ministry at an island parish. And it was actually there that I had some of my first unique workplace struggles. It was shortly after I started, I found out that they cut my budget from a few $1,000s to $0. So I had to figure out how to make things work in that situation. I was also handed a piece of paper torn out of a spiral notebook and said, "Okay, here's our database of young people." Oh. So building that up, creating a ministry that was modern, that was connected digitally as well as interpersonally, and working the very real budget situations that any place with a limited income has, which last year there were tremendous budget cuts throughout the Spokane County infrastructure, and it hit the clerk's office in particular. And I think that we can do better about how we implement those budget cuts and how we fight for what's necessary in the budget.
Well, that sounds like that might be the answer to the question, what prompted you to volunteer for elected office? Because your life is going well, and why interrupt yourself?
I do love my life. I love spending time with my daughter. She'll be old enough for preschool come January, so that opens a number of things up. But in the last couple of years, well, really in the last 10 years, we've seen, I think, a really nasty turn in a lot of our political discourse. And what I'd like to see is for all of us to start focusing on the fact that we've got not just people in the population that we're serving, but people that are working for us in public service. And making sure that we are people-oriented in all of those facets, that we're taking care of our workers and respecting our people, and that we don't put ourselves into binds where we compromise our service in either of those respects.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at, as we're moving towards the end of this, I'll get to the last question, which is the one where you get to have the last word. How do you see the duties of this elected office, and why should voters choose you?
Well,
and you can speak
Michael
right to the
Kirk,
camera.
Candidate for Spokane County Clerk. The county clerk's office plays a vital role in preserving all of our rights to a speedy, fair, and public trial. They schedule the judges, they provide the court clerks, and making sure that those people are all trained and coordinated and working together harmoniously is part of what keeps us all from really getting swept away in the system. Spending more time in lockup than necessary, even getting committed possibly. It's vital that we have not just an efficient system, but one that's humming along in a positive way and is thinking about the people that are affected by it. And keeping people in mind is precisely what I've always been about. It's what I've been trained to be about. And I really hope and look forward to applying all the skills that I've learned over these years to serving the people of Spokane, which is our new home. We came out here to start a family. We did, and it's a beautiful family.
She was very impressed to see Daddy on the monitor over there.
Yeah, and I look forward to making the future brighter, not just for my girl, but for all the kids here in Spokane.
Okay, well, I thank you for joining us, Michael, and wish you the best of luck.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Sue.
Thanks for watching Meet the Candidate. Spokane Talks thanks our community-minded partners, Greater Spokane Incorporated, the Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, We Believe We Vote, and Better Spokane for helping make Meet the Candidate possible.